Hello, second years. Okay, so last week we reviewed time to the hour, the half hour, and the quarter hour, quarter to, sorry, my dog is crying at me. He wants on my lap. Quarter past the hour or quarter until the next hour. And so this week we're going to talk about telling time to 5 minutes. All right, so got our clock here. We know that it's 6 o'clock. Our hour hand is pointing at the 6. The minute hand is pointing right up at the 12. That's our O clock. We remember that when the minute hand is now pointing at the 6, our clock has been cut in half. It is half the time past and until the next hour. And since there are 60 minutes in an hour, it is 30, so we can say it's half past 6. And we see the hour hand is pointing right halfway in between the 6 and the 7. It's not 7 o'clock yet, right? So it's half past 6 or 6:30. So 7 o'clock. We remember that if we cut our clock this way, and we still have it this way, then now our clock is cut into fourths. And when our minute hand is pointing at the 3, that means it is quarter past, in this case, quarter past 7 or 7:15. And when our minute hand is pointing at the 9, it is quarter until the next hour, which would be 8 o'clock. So we could say it's quarter till 8 or it's 7:45. All right, so there's a review of what we learned last time. So now we're going to talk about 5 minutes. And you can see it's nicely printed here on my clock that each time we see one of these numbers, only when our minute hand's pointing at them, that means it's actually an increment of 5 minutes. Okay? So if you know your 5 times, you can actually do this in your head. Whatever your minute hand is pointing at, 5 times 1 would be 5. So it is 8:05. 10, 8:10. We know this is 8:15 or quarter past 8. 8:20, and we can just count by 5s all the way around. 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, or quarter to 50, 55, and then we're back at the 60, back at the O clock. It's now 9 o'clock, okay? So when you see looking like this, and you don't have a clock like mine where it shows you right there that it's 25 minutes, you can just look and count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And if you know what 5 times 5 is, then you can do it in your head. 5 times 5 is 25. It is 9:25. Okay? It's not 10:25. It's in between. So it's 9:25. My minute hand doesn't want to stay past so I'll just leave it there. Okay, so here in this case, we have our minute hands pointing at the 8, so we would skip count by 5s around. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. It is 9:40. All right, so let's do some guided practice. Erase my board from the last lesson. All right. So here we can see it says, it takes 5 minutes for the minute hand to move to the next number. You can skip count by 5s to tell the time. So here they show us our clock. The minute hand is pointing at the 8, which we can skip count by 5s. And we just did that one, or with our minute hand pointing at the 8. So this clock shows 40 minutes after 9 o'clock. It's after 9 o'clock. We write it another way. We can say it is, you probably can't see it. I got to write over it. So it's 40 minutes past 9 o'clock. Another way we write it is 9:40. I have dots in case you can't see. 9:40. All right. So tell what time is shown. Use the clock to help write the time. So our hour hand is pointing, it's in between the 12 and the 1. It's a little bit past 12, so we know that it is 12 something. Our minute hand is pointing at the 4. We can skip count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20. So it is 12:20. 12:20. Okay? Here our hour hand is almost pointing to the 4, not quite yet. And our minute hand is pointing to the 11. So let's skip count by 5s all the way around. We got 5. So we can go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. So it is 3:55. In 5 minutes, it will be 4 o'clock. Okay? Hour hand pointing a little past the 4. I can just go ahead and write that if I want. And then I figure out my minute hand is at the 5. So starting out here, 12 here. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. It is 4:25. Okay. Number 4 says, tell what time is shown, draw the minute hand to show the time. So our digital clock says it is 10:35. They've already drawn our hour hand for us, pointing a little bit past the 10. So our minute hand, we've got to draw. So we need to figure out where it's going to be pointing to. So we can go ahead and count, skip count by 5s to get to 35, and then we'll know that that's the number that our minute hand is going to. So we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. So our minute hand is going to be pointing at the 7. Just like that. Explain how you skip count by 5s to tell time. So hopefully you are saying or thinking that for every number that the minute hand points to represents 5 minutes. So you can skip count by 5s to tell how many minutes past the hour it is. Bada bing, bada boom. So you've got some independent practice in telling time to 5-minute increments, along with some word problems. And there's another short part of this talking about AM and PM. So when we tell time fully, especially, your parents do this all the time when they're setting meetings or we're talking about that, we talk about AM and PM. So tells us AM means it's like morning, PM is kind of like night, can be. So the hours from midnight until noon are labeled AM. So anytime midnight is 12 a.m., then we've got 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., you're probably getting up. 8 a.m., you're getting ready to leave or you're already at school. 9 a.m., we're in school. 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and then the hours from noon, 12 p.m., until midnight are labeled PM. So we see here, go to school at 8 a.m. So full way we write it, 8 o'clock with the A.M. I thought it was going to say what AM and PM, I can't quite remember it's an abbreviation. We've talked about abbreviations and it means a specific something. I can look it up here real quick. Since we are in a lesson, I should have done this before, sorry. AM meaning something meridian, I believe. Oh yeah, meridian. Anti-meridian, it means before midday, while PM is post-meridian, after midday. So that's where the AM and PM technically come from. A little bit of information for you there. All right. So 8 a.m. you're going to school. 8 p.m. you may be reading a bedtime story. So tell what time is shown for the activity. Write the time, circle a.m. or p.m. So art class, looks like our hour hand is pointing to the 10, minute hand right at the 12, so we know it is 10 o'clock. And art class would be 10 a.m., not 10 p.m. 10 p.m. you're hopefully already sleeping, so we know it's a.m. Go to bed. We've got 8:30 or 8:30, and we're going to go to bed in the p.m. If you're going to bed at 8:30 a.m., get out of bed and go to school. Okay, play after school. Hour hand pointing at the 4, minute hand at 12, so it is 4 o'clock. It would definitely be p.m. Okay? So you have like 1 page of independent practice where you're going to be doing this very thing, writing the time, and they'll give you, an activity, and you're figuring out if it's a.m. or p.m. How can you remember if it is a.m. or p.m.? So a.m. are those times from midnight until noon. So it's those morning hours. You're asleep for several of those morning hours, but when you wake up until noontime, it's a.m., and then from noon until 12 a.m. is p.m. So your afternoon and nighttime hours. All right. So that is your lesson on telling time to 5 minutes and practicing that as well as whether the time is a.m. or p.m. Enjoy.